Hello everyone, I'm Ellen McCloskey and this is my internal and external communication poster. McCod 2019 states that the consistency between the image projected by a company and how it is perceived by employees is fundamental. Respondents often outlined the importance of aligning external and internal communication, not only to best support organizational goals, but also to ensure a positive perception and reputation of the enterprise. So I split this out into internal and external communication. So according to Serby 2017, the communication is said to be internal when the exchange of information, messages, facts, opinions, etc. takes place between the members of the organization or various units of the organization for business purposes. And external communication, according to Serby 2017, external communication can be understood as the sharing of information between the company and any other person or entity from the external environment. And then for the membership of the internal communication is administration, office staff, licensed staff, and classified staff. So in our licensed staff, we have our teachers, our speech paths, our OTs, our PTs, and then our classified staff is our para staff. And then for membership of the external communication, I've outlined the Board of Education, the 15 districts that we work with, the families that we work with, the students that we work with. We work with businesses for community-based training and job shadowing for students. We work with potential employees. We potentially work with colleges and universities in order to help students transition into these places, and also on recruiting potential employees. And then for student purposes, we also work with outside agencies in order to make sure that students have a smooth transition and they have the supports they need for post-secondary life. The communication methods found in internal communication is email, Google Drive, mailed letters, phone calls, Facebook, the newsletter, and staff meetings. And then the communication methods for external communication is email, mailed letters, phone calls, Facebook, referrals for outside agencies, meetings, community-based training, IEP meetings, progress reports, and job postings. And then within this, for the public and the regularity of each form of communication they use, the most common form of communication is email, and that exists both in internal and external communication. And then we also use things such as Google Drive, mailing letters, phone calls, Facebook, the newsletter, and staff meetings. So that most common in the internal communication is email, then followed by Google Drive, phone calls, staff meetings, Facebook, and finally the newsletter. We don't use the newsletter quite as often. And then for external communication, there should be this constant communication between all of our internal members, first and foremost, because if our internal communication is damaged, then our external communication is not going to be great. But for our external communication, the most frequent communication method used is emails, and then IEP meetings, phone calls, community-based training, job postings, referrals for outside agencies, progress reports, and finally letters in Facebook. For the extension piece on this, I created a graph that goes in and outlines all of the different communication methods and the number of the members that I outlined that partake in each of these. So emails and phone calls were the ones with the most amount of members taking part in them. And then everything else is pretty even across the board. There's the least amount of people that are members that participate in those referrals for outside agencies, mostly just because we're targeting our students with severe disabilities at that point in time, and there's just not as many, we don't need as many members communicating on that piece, and there's just not as many people involved in those decisions. For oral, written, and digital distribution, I've sorted out into 3 categories here. For the oral communication, The Board of Education, the administration, families, students, businesses, and outside agencies are all prefer or require this oral communication piece. Under written communication, our licensed staff, office staff, Board of Education, families, students, potential employees, colleges and universities, and outside agencies use this written communication piece. And then the digital communication piece is administration, office staff, licensed staff, districts, families, businesses, potential employees, and colleges and universities. And then for the ways that the two publics conduct regular two-way communication with diverse community members, partners, and other people within the community, is that the two publics, both internal and external publics, use two-way communication with diverse community members by ensuring that various forms of communication are being used, so that all of these that are listed are being used back and forth between the internal and external members. And all the listed forms of communication are used by both publics at some point in time, and so that allows people within diverse situations and from diverse backgrounds to be able to access the information, because we have multiple modalities for getting that information across to people. The ones that prefer or require two-way communication, in order for everything to function well, all internal public members must utilize two-way communication. If there's a communication breakdown in the internal realm, then information cannot be communicated well to the external public. Or if the information that is shared within the internal realm is incorrect or is false in some sort of way, then we want to make sure that we're not pushing out incorrect information or data to the external population or publics as well. The current and future success and well-being of each student and adult is most often communicated with the IEP team, so the families, and also with the licensed staff, and also bringing in that administration. Those are the three that really communicate the most on the current and future success and well-being of each student and adult. For engaging families, diverse community members, and school personnel to strengthen student learning, that's occurring most often between our administration and our Board of Education. And supporting school improvement, that's happening the most with our Board of Education, our administration, and then any of our licensed staff that are participating in that. Advocating for the needs of their school and community, that's our licensed staff, our Board of Administration, and then our Board of Education and our administration. I do wish that our interlocal was a little bit more involved with the communication side of things. I think it gets a little bit difficult because we have 15 different districts, and so it makes it hard then to build a community. Because there are 15 different districts and it's stretched across several different counties. And so then it would be awfully difficult to, it is awfully difficult to communicate well with every single district and be involved in every single community. And so in order to improve the current and future success and well-being of each student and adult, I really do wish that all of our publics were a little bit more, especially our external publics, were more involved in this piece. And I do wish we had more community communication, especially with like businesses, potential employees. I wish we were able to kind of pull those pieces out a little bit more. Engaging families, diverse community members, and school personnel to strengthen student learning. I would love to see some sort of communication being branched between all of these different groups, whether that's sharing our newsletter publicly, that's posting it somewhere. Maybe we could hang up flyers in some places. Maybe we could have it sent out to each of our individual districts, so then at least their teachers within the districts that are not special educators are also getting an opportunity to see what's going on within the interlocal. Supporting school improvement. I would have to change this to interlocal improvement. I would like to see a diverse advisory group being built so that everyone's opinions are heard and so that there's more communication that can be taken from this advisory group back out into the individual districts. And then advocating for the needs of the school and the community. I think this could also be done through that advisory board with getting the communication put back out into the various districts that we have. And these are the references that I use throughout the presentation. Thank you for watching.